You know she was, you know what I mean? And she was there 1 minute and the next she wasn't. So they searched and tore our house apart 11 times. I don't know. They really hurt, the whole thing has really hurt me and Candace a lot, but we're still hanging in there for our kids and trying to do what's right. And holding out hope that Summer will be found.
4:30 p.m. The summer heat hangs heavy as tactical units surround an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of Hawkins County, Tennessee. Officers in bulletproof vests move with practiced precision, weapons drawn. The raid is the culmination of a 4-year investigation, one that began with the disappearance of a little girl with blonde hair and blue eyes. Go, go, go! The command echoes as the door crashes open. What they find inside will send shockwaves through a community that has been searching for answers since that fateful day in June 2021. Rewind to June 15th, 2021. A different summer day. 5-year-old Summer Moon Utah Wells kneels in the dirt outside her family's rural home, her small hands carefully placing flowers in the soil. Her mother and grandmother work nearby, the 3 generations enjoying the simple pleasure of gardening together. Summer's laughter carries across the property as she stands up, brushing dirt from her hands. "I'm going inside to play," she tells her mother. The basement, filled with her favorite toys, awaits. Candace Bly, Summer's mother, nods and continues planting, unaware that this ordinary moment would be the last time she would see her daughter. One moment, Summer was planting flowers with her mother. The next moment, she vanished without a trace. No screams, no signs of struggle, no evidence of what happened during those critical minutes that changed everything for the Wells family and their community. 4 years later, investigators are still piecing together what happened to Summer Wells, and what they discovered in that warehouse at 4:30 p.m. might finally provide the answers everyone has been waiting for. If you're fascinated by unsolved mysteries that continue to baffle investigators, hit subscribe now and turn on notifications. This is Criminal Instinct, and today we're diving deep into one of America's most perplexing missing child cases, a case where new evidence continues to emerge even years later. Before we continue with Summer's story, I'm curious, where are you watching from today? Drop your location in the comments below. This case touched communities across America, and I'd love to see how far Summer's story has reached. From Tennessee to Texas, California to Maine. Let me know where you're following from. To understand the mystery of Summer Wells, you must first understand Beech Creek, a place where the Appalachian Mountains create a world apart from modern America. Nestled in the northeastern corner of Tennessee, Hawkins County sits along the border with Virginia, a region where the Blue Ridge Mountains carve the landscape into steep hollows. You won't find it on isolated communities. It's what locals call a community, a collection of homes spread across rugged terrain, connected by winding roads that follow the contours of the land. The nearest incorporated town, Rogersville, lies about 15 miles away, but in these mountains, distance is measured in minutes rather than miles. The drive from Beech Creek to Rogersville can take 30 minutes or more, depending on weather conditions. Ben Hill Road, where the Wells family lived, epitomizes the isolation that defines this region. The narrow, twisting road climbs steeply from the valley floor, passing scattered homes before reaching the Wells property near the top of the ridge. Their home, a modest single-story structure with a walkout basement, commands a view of the surrounding mountains, but that vista comes with seclusion. It's the kind of place where everyone knows everyone, but you might not see your neighbors for days, explains Hawkins County historian James Harrington. These communities have deep roots. Families have lived here for generations, and there's a strong sense of self-reliance. That self-reliance is born of necessity. Emergency services can take precious minutes to reach homes in these remote areas. Cell phone coverage remains spotty, with signals dropping in the deeper hollows. Internet access, something urban Americans take for granted, is limited or non-existent in parts of Beech Creek. The terrain that makes this area so beautiful also makes it dangerous, especially for a small child. The Wells property sits surrounded by dense forest that climbs even higher up the ridge. Old logging roads, some barely visible beneath years of undergrowth, crisscross the area. Seasonal creeks cut through ravines, creating natural pathways that can lead deeper into the wilderness. You could be standing 50 feet from someone in these woods and never know they're there, says Robert Payne, a local search and rescue volunteer. The undergrowth is thick, visibility is limited, and sound plays tricks on you. It's easy to get disoriented, even for people who know these woods. Wildlife adds another layer of concern. Black bears, though generally shy around humans, inhabit these mountains. Coyotes are common. Venomous copperhead and timber rattlesnakes find perfect habitat in the rocky outcroppings that dot the landscape. It was in this challenging environment that Summer Moon Utah Wells spent her short life. Born in February 2016, Summer was the youngest of 4 children and the only girl. With her distinctive blonde hair and bright blue eyes, Summer stood out in family photos. Those who knew her described a spirited child who loved the outdoors despite its dangers. She was fearless, recalls a family friend who asked to remain anonymous. Summer would climb anything, explore anywhere. She had this boundless energy and curiosity that kept everyone on their toes. Summer's kindergarten teacher described her as bright and engaging, a child who asked thoughtful questions and showed kindness to classmates. She had this infectious laugh, the teacher remembered. When Summer found something funny, everyone around her would start laughing too, even if they didn't know what the joke was. The Wells family dynamics before Summer's disappearance paint a complex picture. Don Wells, Summer's father, worked in construction, often traveling to job sites across the region. Candace Bly, her mother, managed the household and cared for the children. Summer's 3 older brothers, Josie, Wyatt, and Waylon, completed the family unit. Extended family played important roles in Summer's life. Her maternal grandmother, Candace Hera, lived with the family and helped care for the children. The arrangement was practical in a region where multi-generational households remain common, both for economic reasons and to provide childcare. Like many families in rural Appalachia, the Wells faced economic challenges. Jobs in the region are limited, with many residents commuting long distances for work or piecing together multiple part-time positions. The median household income in Hawkins County sits well below the national average, with nearly 20% of residents living below the poverty line. The family's religious faith provided structure and community. They attended a local Baptist church where Summer participated in Sunday school and vacation Bible school. Church members described the family as active participants who sought spiritual guidance during difficult times. Faith runs deep in these mountains, explains Pastor Alan Ginn, who leads a congregation near Beech Creek. For many families here, church isn't just Sunday morning. It's the center of their social and spiritual lives. Public records and interviews with acquaintances suggest the Wells family experienced ups and downs common to many households. Court records indicate Don Wells had previous encounters with law enforcement, including charges related to domestic incidents and substance abuse, issues that affect many families across rural America, where treatment resources are often limited or inaccessible. In the months before Summer's disappearance, however, those who knew the family described a period of relative stability. Don had steady work. The children were in school, or in Summer's case, preparing to start kindergarten in the fall. Neighbors reported seeing the family working in their yard, with Summer often playing nearby. "They seemed like any other family trying to make it work," said a neighbor who lived down the hill from the Wells home. Summer was always outside, always moving. You'd see her helping her mum with chores or playing with her brothers. Just a normal kid in a normal family, as far as anyone could tell. It was against this backdrop, a remote mountain community, a challenging landscape, and a family navigating the complexities of rural life, that Summer Wells would vanish, setting in motion one of Tennessee's most perplexing missing person cases. June 15, 2021, began as an ordinary Tuesday in Hawkins County. The summer heat had settled in early that year, with temperatures climbing into the mid-80s by mid-morning. For the Wells family, it was a day for catching up on household chores, nothing that would have suggested the life-altering events to come. The morning followed a routine familiar to many families. Don Wells left for work around 6:30 a.m., heading to a job site in Jonesboro, about an hour's drive away. Summer and her 3 brothers woke up shortly after, with the older boys entertaining themselves while Candace Bly prepared breakfast. According to statements Candace later gave to investigators, the family had plans to work in their garden that day. Summer's maternal grandmother, Candace Hara, who lived with the family, would be joining them. Gardening was a family activity that Summer particularly enjoyed. She loved being outside, Candace would later tell reporters. She was always asking when we could plant more flowers or check on the ones we'd already planted. Around 10:30 a.m., Candace and Summer, accompanied by a family friend, left the house to take Candace's mother to a local hospital for a knee injury. Security footage would later confirm their presence at the hospital, with Summer visible in the background, wearing a pink shirt and grey shorts, the same clothes she would be wearing when she disappeared. After the hospital visit, the group made several stops. They visited a local pharmacy to pick up prescriptions for Candace's mother. Then they stopped at a hippie house, a local landmark where Candace took photos of Summer. Their final stop was at a local market called Priceless Foods, where security cameras captured Summer walking the aisles with her mother around 1:30 p.m. By approximately 2:30 p.m., the group had returned to the Wells home on Ben Hill Road. Summer's brothers were playing video games inside, while Candace, her mother and Summer headed to the garden area. For the next few hours, they worked on transplanting flowers from pots into the ground. A neighbor who drove past the property around 3 p.m. later confirmed seeing Summer in the yard with her mother and grandmother. This sighting represents one of the last confirmed observations of Summer by someone outside the immediate family. The afternoon progressed without incident. Summer helped place flowers in the soil, occasionally running to a nearby water hose to fill a small watering can. Around 4:30 p.m., according to Candace, Summer complained of feeling tired. She said she wanted to go inside to play with her toys, Candace recounted to investigators. I watched her walk toward the side door that leads into the basement. She knew to go straight upstairs to her brothers. The basement of the Wells home functioned as both a walkout entrance and a play area. From there, a staircase led up to the main living area where Summer's brothers were. Candace stated that she expected Summer to go directly upstairs to be with her siblings. Candace and her mother continued working in the garden for approximately 15 to 20 minutes. At that point, Candace decided to check on Summer. She entered the house and called upstairs to the boys, asking if their sister was with them. They said they hadn't seen her, Candace later told police. That's when I started to worry. What followed was a frantic search of the house. Candace checked the basement first, thinking Summer might have stayed there to play with toys kept in that area. Finding no sign of her daughter, she moved upstairs, looking in bedrooms, closets, and under beds, anywhere a 5-year-old might hide during a game. As the search of the house yielded nothing, panic began to set in. Candace sent the boys outside to look around the property while she continued searching inside, calling Summer's name repeatedly. Her mother joined the search, checking areas near the garden where they had been working. By 5:30 p.m., approximately 1 hour after Summer was last seen, the family expanded their search to the wooded areas surrounding the property. The boys were instructed to stay close to the house while Candace and her mother ventured further out, following paths that Summer knew. We were calling and calling, Candace recalled. I kept thinking she would answer, that she was just playing a game or had fallen asleep somewhere. As the search expanded, Candace contacted neighbors for help. In rural communities like Beech Creek, neighbors often live considerable distances apart, but several responded quickly, arriving on ATVs and on foot to join the search. By 6:30 p.m., with still no sign of Summer and daylight beginning to fade, Candace made the call to 911. The recording of that call captures the growing desperation in her voice. My daughter is missing, she told the dispatcher. She's 5 years old, she was just here and now she's gone. The dispatcher asked a series of standard questions. What was Summer wearing? When was she last seen? Had they checked all possible hiding places? Had anything like this happened before? Candace confirmed Summer was wearing a pink shirt and grey shorts. She explained that Summer had gone inside to play while she and her mother continued gardening. She assured the dispatcher they had searched everywhere they could think of. She wouldn't just wander off, Candace insisted. She knows not to go into the woods alone. As darkness approached, Don Wells received the call at his job site in Jonesboro. He immediately left work and began the hour-long drive home, calling friends along the way to ask them to help with the search. By the time Don arrived home, the first sheriff's deputies were already on scene. taking statements and organizing a more systematic search of the property. Flashlights cut through the growing darkness as more neighbors arrived to help. It was chaos, one neighbor later recalled. People were everywhere, calling Summer's name. You could hear the fear in everyone's voice. As night fell completely, the reality of the situation became increasingly clear. Summer Wells had vanished without a trace from her own home, setting in motion what would become one of Tennessee's most extensive missing person investigations. This story takes some unexpected turns. Make sure you stay with me until the end to hear about the shocking warehouse discovery that changed everything. It's currently 3:15 p.m. in Tennessee, where Summer's case remains active. What time is it where you're watching from? The TBI works around the clock on cases like these, and I'm curious about when you're tuning in. Drop the time and your location in the comments below. As darkness fell over Hawkins County on June 15, 2021, the Wells family's panic intensified. Their initial search of the property had yielded nothing, no trace of Summer, no clues to her whereabouts. Neighbors had joined in, calling out Summer's name as flashlight beams cut through the growing darkness. The rugged terrain surrounding the Wells home on Ben Hill Road swallowed sound, creating eerie echoes that only heightened the family's desperation. The 911 call came as a last resort. "My daughter's missing," Candace Bly told the dispatcher, her voice cracking. "She was just here, and now she's gone." Hawkins County Sheriff's deputies arrived within minutes, quickly assessing the situation. The responding officers immediately recognized the gravity of the case, a 5-year-old girl missing in an area notorious for its challenging landscape. Dense woodland surrounded the property, with steep hills and thick underbrush, creating countless places where a small child could become lost or hidden. By 8:30 p.m., the Sheriff's Department had established a command post near the Wells home. As night fully descended, the search intensified. Deputies conducted a thorough sweep of the house, checking closets, under beds, and any space where a child might hide. Outside, officers with flashlights methodically combed the immediate area, calling Summer's name. "The first few hours are critical in any missing child case," explains former FBI agent Robert Lowry, who specializes in missing children investigations. "Statistics show that the chances of finding a child safe decrease significantly after the first 24 hours. Just after midnight, with Summer still missing and no leads developing, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, TBI, issued an endangered child alert. This triggered additional resources and widened the search radius. Digital billboards across the state began displaying Summer's information, and local news stations interrupted programming with the alert. By the following afternoon, approximately 12 hours after the initial alert, authorities upgraded the case to an Amber Alert, the highest level of emergency notification for a missing child. This decision wasn't made lightly. To qualify for an Amber Alert, law enforcement must believe the child is in imminent danger of serious bodily injury or death. "We had enough concern about Summer's welfare to elevate this to an Amber Alert," TBI spokesperson Leslie Earhart told reporters at the time. "We're throwing everything we have at this case." The elevation to an Amber Alert unleashed an unprecedented response. Within 48 hours of Summer's disappearance, what began as a local search transformed into one of the largest missing person operations in Tennessee history. The numbers were staggering. 77 specialized search and rescue agencies from Tennessee, Virginia, Alabama, Georgia, Ohio, and North Carolina converged on Hawkins County. More than 120 trained personnel worked in rotating shifts, ensuring the search continued around the clock. The operation would eventually cover more than 3,000 acres of some of the most challenging terrain in the eastern United States. From the air, helicopters equipped with thermal imaging cameras scanned the dense forest canopy, while fixed-wing aircraft photographed the area for later analysis. Drones equipped with high-definition cameras provided real-time footage to search coordinators, allowing them to direct ground teams more effectively. On the ground, the search faced formidable obstacles. Hawkins County Sheriff Ronnie Lawson described the conditions as extremely difficult and exhausting. Summer temperatures soared into the 90s, with humidity making it feel even hotter. The steep hills, some with 40-degree inclines, were covered in thick brush and riddled with hidden sinkholes, abandoned wells, and mine shafts. "This isn't just walking through the woods," explained Chad Cunningham, who led one of the K9 search teams. "Every step has to be carefully placed. There are drop-offs hidden by overgrowth, venomous snakes, and terrain so steep you need to use your hands to climb." Specialized K9 units were brought in, including dogs trained in tracking human scent, cadaver detection, and article search. The dogs worked in short shifts to prevent exhaustion in the oppressive heat. When one team reached its limit, another would take over, ensuring continuous coverage. The search grid expanded daily, with teams marking cleared areas and methodically moving outward from the well's property. Searchers used GPS technology to track their movements, ensuring no area was overlooked. They checked abandoned structures, caves, waterways, and dense thickets, anywhere a 5-year-old might wander or be taken. "We're looking for anything out of place," TBI agent Jeff Roach told reporters during a press briefing on day 3. "A piece of clothing, a footprint, disturbed vegetation, anything that might give us a clue about what happened to Summer." As the search continued, investigators conducted parallel inquiries. They interviewed family members multiple times, spoke with neighbors, and reviewed security camera footage from nearby businesses and homes. Cell phone data was analyzed, including pings from towers that might have registered devices in the area during the critical time window. By the end of the first week, the search had consumed more than 13,800 man-hours. Specialized teams had searched the same areas multiple times using different techniques and under varying conditions. Divers had checked ponds and waterways. Caves and abandoned mines had been explored. Yet despite this massive effort, not a single piece of conclusive evidence had been found. "It's as if she simply vanished," Sheriff Lawson admitted during a press conference marking the 1-week point. "But we're not giving up. We'll keep searching until we find Summer." The lack of physical evidence puzzled investigators. In most missing child cases, something is found. A piece of clothing, a footprint, a witness who saw something unusual. The complete absence of clues suggested several possibilities, none of them reassuring. Either Summer had been taken far from the area very quickly, or evidence had been deliberately concealed. As the search entered its second week, tactical decisions had to be made. Resources couldn't be maintained at such high levels indefinitely. The TBI and FBI brought in behavioral analysts to review the case and help prioritize search areas. They developed probability maps based on statistical models from similar cases, identifying high-priority zones for continued intensive searching. The community rallied around the effort. Local restaurants provided meals for search teams. Churches opened their doors as rest areas. Volunteers staffed phone banks, logging tips that poured in from across the country. A reward fund grew as donations arrived from concerned citizens nationwide. Yet as days turned into weeks, the massive ground search gradually scaled back. The focus shifted to investigative work, following leads, conducting interviews, and analyzing evidence. The Amber Alert remained active, a constant reminder that Summer was still missing. "This transition doesn't mean we're giving up," TBI Assistant Director Josh Melton emphasized. "It means we're adapting our approach based on the information we have. The investigation remains our highest priority." 4 years later, that Amber Alert is still active, a somber distinction that few missing person cases share. It stands as both a testament to law enforcement's commitment and a painful reminder of an investigation that, despite its unprecedented scale, has yet to bring Summer home. As days turned to weeks with no sign of Summer, public attention increasingly focused on the Wells family themselves. What began as community support gradually transformed into scrutiny, suspicion, and ultimately harassment that would compound the family's trauma. Approximately 1 month after Summer's disappearance, the Tennessee Department of Children's Services, DCS, made a decision that sent shockwaves through the community. They removed Summer's 3 brothers from the family home. Authorities provided no official explanation for this action, citing confidentiality laws that protect juvenile cases. The removal sparked immediate speculation. Was it related to Summer's disappearance? Had investigators found evidence suggesting the home was unsafe? Or was it a precautionary measure to protect the boys from the intense media spotlight? Don Wells later addressed the removal in an interview with a local news station. "They come and took the boys," he said, his voice breaking. "We don't know why. They won't tell us much of anything." He suggested the action might be related to previous problems, but didn't elaborate further. Court records would later reveal that both Don and Candace had histories that likely factored into the DCS decision. Don had previous convictions for domestic assault before his relation with Candace, and possession of a handgun while intoxicated. These incidents had occurred years earlier, but they resurfaced in media reports following Summer's disappearance. The family's troubles compounded in October 2021, when Don was arrested for driving under the influence. According to the arrest report, officers found him behind the wheel of the family's GMC Sonoma pickup truck, which had veered off the road. The report noted that Don had red, bloodshot eyes and performed poorly on field sobriety tests. This incident occurred just 4 months after Summer's disappearance, at a time when the family remained under intense public scrutiny. Don would later plead guilty to the DUI charge, along with additional charges of unlawful possession of a weapon, having an open container of alcohol, and violating financial responsibility law. He was sentenced to 11 months and 29 days in jail, but was permitted to serve his time on supervised probation. In February 2022, Don's probation was revoked after he was arrested again, this time for domestic assault. He would ultimately serve nearly 8 months in jail before being released in October 2022. During his incarceration, the search for Summer continued without him. The legal troubles faced by Don Wells fueled public speculation about his possible involvement in Summer's disappearance, despite law enforcement never naming him or any family member as a suspect. The TBI consistently maintained that they were pursuing all leads and had not ruled out any possibilities. Throughout these difficulties, Don maintained a consistent position. Summer had been kidnapped. "She was taken, she didn't wander off," he insisted in multiple interviews. "She was abducted. I know it in my heart." When asked directly by reporters if he had any involvement in his daughter's disappearance, Don's response was unequivocal. "I absolutely can say I had nothing to do with it." As the case gained national attention, appearing on programs like Dr. Phil and being featured in true crime podcasts, the Wells family faced a new challenge. Harassment from amateur sleuths and internet detectives convinced they knew what had happened to Summer. The harassment took multiple forms. Strangers drove past the family home at all hours, sometimes shouting accusations. Anonymous callers reported false tips to police and child protective services. Social media groups dedicated to the case dissected every statement, photo, and action of the family, often drawing conclusions based on speculation rather than evidence. "We can't even go to the grocery store without people taking pictures of us or saying terrible things," Candace told a local reporter in early 2022. "They call us murderers. They say horrible things about Summer. These people don't know us." The harassment extended to the family's employment. Don, who worked in construction, found job opportunities drying up as his name became associated with the high-profile case. Employers, concerned about negative attention, became reluctant to hire him. "I can't get work," Don explained in a YouTube interview. "As soon as they find out who I am, that's it. Nobody wants the drama." The financial strain compounded the emotional toll. Bills mounted as income dwindled. The family faced the possibility of losing their home, the last place where Summer had been seen. Community fundraisers helped temporarily, but the long-term impact on the family's stability was severe. The Wells family's church community provided crucial support during this period. Pastor Alan Gwynn described efforts to shield the family from harassment while providing practical assistance. "We've tried to be Christ's hands and feet," he explained, bringing meals, helping with bills, and most importantly, continuing to pray for Summer's return. Despite the challenges, the Wells family continued to participate in events honoring Summer. They attended prayer vigils, marking the anniversaries of her disappearance. They cooperated with the creation of age progression photos showing what Summer might look like as she grew older. They maintained a social media presence dedicated to keeping her case in the public eye. In June 2025, 4 years after Summer's disappearance, Don Wells announced a significant development in the family's DCS case. According to Don, the case against them had been dismissed, with all opinions of abuse or neglect dropped and unsubstantiated by judge order. This development carried profound implications. If Summer is found today, she can come home, Don stated, his voice carrying a mixture of hope and sorrow. The statement suggested that, despite 4 years of investigation, authorities had not found evidence of wrongdoing sufficient to permanently terminate the Wells' parental rights. Throughout the ordeal, the Wells family has maintained a room for Summer in their home, keeping her toys and clothes just as they were on the day she disappeared. "We're waiting for her to come home," Candace explained during a rare media interview in 2024. "We have to believe she's still out there. If you're finding this case as compelling as I do, give this video a thumbs up so more people can learn about Summer's story. Your engagement helps spread awareness about missing children like Summer. What's the weather like where you are today? Here in Tennessee, the rugged terrain that complicated the search for Summer experiences everything from scorching summers to freezing winters. The same hills that bloom with wildflowers in spring become treacherous with ice in January. Drop your current weather in the comments below." 4 years into the investigation of Summer Wells' disappearance, the numbers tell a story of unprecedented effort. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation has processed over 6,500 leads and tips, each one meticulously documented, analyzed, and pursued to its conclusion. This staggering figure represents one of the most extensive investigations in TBI history. "Every tip gets evaluated," explains TBI Special Agent James Lawson. "Some are quickly determined to be irrelevant, but others require extensive follow-up, interviews, search warrants, evidence collection. We've had tips come in from all 50 states and several foreign countries. The investigation has generated thousands of pages of reports, hundreds of hours of recorded interviews, and terabytes of digital evidence. Specialized teams have analyzed cell phone data, social media accounts, and surveillance footage from dozens of locations. Forensic experts have examined items collected from the Wells property and surrounding areas. Among the most significant developments was the identification and interview of a potential witness who reported seeing a maroon or burgundy Toyota Tacoma pickup truck in the area around the time of Summer's disappearance. The vehicle, described as having a ladder rack and white buckets in the truck bed, became a focus of the investigation. "We've asked the public repeatedly for information about this vehicle," TBI spokesperson Leslie Earhart stated during a press conference in late 2021. "We want to emphasize that the driver may have information that could help the investigation, even if they weren't directly involved in Summer's disappearance." Despite extensive efforts, investigators have never publicly identified the driver of the truck or confirmed whether the vehicle had any connection to the case. The TBI has maintained that identifying and interviewing the driver remains a priority. Another significant development came in June 2023, when the National Center for Missing Exploited Children, working with forensic artists and the TBI, released an age progression photo showing what Summer might look like at age 7. The image, created using sophisticated software that analyzes family photos and accounts for genetic factors in aging, showed Summer with the same distinctive blonde hair and blue eyes, but with more mature facial features. Age progression photos are a vital tool in long-term missing children cases, explains Dr. Melissa Sturgeon, a forensic anthropologist who specializes in facial aging. Children change dramatically as they grow. A photo from when they disappeared quickly becomes outdated, making it harder for the public to recognize them. The release of the age progression photo generated a new wave of tips, with calls to the TBI hotline increasing by over 300% in the weeks following. Several reported sightings prompted intensive follow-up investigations, including one that led agents to a small town in northern Georgia, where a child resembling the age progression photo had been spotted at a local code playground. "Each potential sighting gets priority attention," Agent Lawson confirms. "We immediately dispatch personnel to the location, interview witnesses, and review any available security footage. Unfortunately, none of these sightings has led to Summer. Throughout the investigation, TBI Assistant Director Josh Melton has consistently cautioned against speculation and premature conclusions. The difficult part of speculation is that if we as investigators speculate and focus our efforts in one direction, we're making a huge mistake, Melton stated during a press conference marking the 3-year anniversary of Summer's disappearance. This measured approach has sometimes frustrated observers eager for answers, but it reflects the complexity of a case with few definitive clues. The TBI has maintained that they haven't found evidence conclusively pointing to abduction or that Summer wandered away on her own. Both possibilities and others remain under active investigation. In early 2024, the investigation took an unexpected turn when a tip led authorities to focus on an abandoned warehouse approximately 30 miles from the Wells' home. The facility, formerly used for textile storage, had been vacant for nearly a decade. The tip, described by sources close to the investigation as highly specific and credible, suggested that evidence related to Summer's disappearance might be found there. After weeks of surveillance and preparation, on March 17, 2024, at precisely 4:30 p.m., tactical units from the TBI and FBI executed a search warrant on the warehouse. The timing was strategic, chosen to minimize the chance of alerting potential suspects while ensuring enough daylight remained for a thorough search. What they found inside sent ripples through the investigation team. The warehouse contained a small, makeshift living area, complete with a cot, portable heater, and food supplies. More significantly, forensic teams recovered several items of children's clothing, including a pink shirt similar to the one Summer was wearing when she disappeared. Most compelling was the discovery of a wall covered with newspaper clippings and printouts about Summer's case, a disturbing collection that suggested someone had been obsessively following the investigation. Photographs taken at the scene, later leaked to media outlets, showed a crude timeline constructed from string and pushpins connecting various events in the case. This discovery represents a significant development, TBI Director Marcus Williams stated at a press conference following the raid. We are processing numerous items of evidence recovered from this location and pursuing several new investigative angles as a result. DNA testing on the recovered clothing yielded mixed results. While preliminary tests detected genetic material, the samples were degraded, making definitive identification challenging. Advanced testing continues at the FBI laboratory in Quantico, Virginia, with results expected by late 2025. The warehouse itself provided few clues to the identity of its occupant. Property records showed it belonged to a holding company based in Delaware, with ownership obscured through multiple shell corporations. Surveillance cameras in the area had been non-functional for years, leaving no visual record of who might have accessed the building. Fingerprints recovered from various surfaces in the warehouse led to another breakthrough. In June 2025, the TBI announced that they had identified a person of interest based on prints found on food containers and other items. While authorities have not publicly named this individual, court records indicate that multiple search warrants have been executed at properties in eastern Tennessee and western North Carolina connected to this person. We are pursuing this lead aggressively, Director Williams stated in the most recent press briefing. While we cannot share specific details that might compromise the investigation, we can confirm that this development has opened new avenues of inquiry that we believe are promising. As of August 2025, the investigation remains active and ongoing. Summer would now be 9 years old, having celebrated her birthday in February. The TBI maintains a dedicated task force assigned to her case, with agents continuing to follow leads, conduct interviews and analyze evidence. The Amber Alert for Summer remains active, one of the longest running in Tennessee history. Her photo, both as she appeared at age 5 and in age-progressed versions, continues to be displayed on billboards across the southeastern United States. This case has never gone cold, emphasizes Director Williams. We continue to receive tips weekly, and our commitment to finding Summer remains unwavering. Someone knows what happened to this little girl, and we will not rest until we uncover the truth. In the absence of conclusive evidence, theories about Summer Wells' disappearance have proliferated. Law enforcement has maintained a neutral stance, investigating all possibilities, but 4 primary theories have emerged among investigators, experts, and the public. The first and most straightforward is the abduction theory, championed consistently by Don Wells. "Someone came up our driveway and took her," Don has stated repeatedly. This theory suggests an opportunistic kidnapping, someone who spotted Summer playing outside and seized a moment when supervision lapsed. Former FBI profiler James Fitzgerald finds aspects of this theory plausible. The Wells home is isolated but visible from the road. A predator could have observed the family's routines over time and waited for an opportunity. However, Fitzgerald notes significant challenges to this theory. The driveway is long and steep. Anyone approaching would likely be noticed, and there were no reports of suspicious vehicles in the immediate area that day, except for the unidentified red truck. The second theory, that Summer wandered away and succumbed to environmental hazards, has been extensively investigated. Search and rescue expert Michael Fontenot explains why this possibility can't be dismissed despite the extensive searches. The terrain around the Wells home is extraordinarily challenging. There are mine shafts, caves, dense underbrush. A small child could be just feet from searchers and remain hidden. This theory is supported by statistics showing that young children who become lost often seek shelter in concealed spaces rather than remaining in open areas where they might be found. However, it's challenged by the complete absence of physical evidence. No clothing fragments, no footprints, nothing to indicate Summer's path if she wandered away. The third theory involves family involvement, a possibility that law enforcement has neither confirmed nor ruled out. Criminal psychologist Dr. Elizabeth Vargas explains the statistical reality that drives this line of investigation. In cases of missing children, family members are involved in a significant percentage of cases. Law enforcement must investigate this possibility thoroughly, even while pursuing other theories. This theory has fueled much of the public speculation and harassment directed at the Wells family. However, TBI Assistant Director Josh Melton has cautioned against premature conclusions. "We have not named any suspects in this case. We continue to follow the evidence wherever it leads." The warehouse discovery introduced a fourth theory, that Summer's disappearance might be connected to someone with an unhealthy obsession with the case. The collection of news clippings and the timeline suggest someone who became fixated on Summer, either before or after her disappearance, explains forensic psychologist Dr. Raymond Porter. This type of offender might have initially had no connection to the family, but developed a psychological attachment to the case. This theory aligns with certain aspects of known child abduction cases, where perpetrators have kept mementos or followed media coverage obsessively. The discovery of children's clothing, similar to Summer's at the warehouse, lends weight to this possibility, though DNA testing remains inconclusive. Each theory has strengths and weaknesses, and the truth may involve elements of multiple scenarios. What remains undisputed is the profound impact Summer's disappearance has had on the Beech Creek community and beyond. Monthly vigils continue to be held at the Beech Creek Baptist Church, where community members gather to pray for Summer's safe return. On the annual anniversary of her disappearance, a larger remembrance event draws participants from across Tennessee and neighboring states. This community has not forgotten Summer, says Pastor Alan Ginn. Her story has become part of who we are. The children who were her age when she disappeared are now fourth graders, but they still know her name, still ask about her. The case has also sparked practical changes. Local schools have implemented enhanced security measures and expanded education about stranger danger. Community watch programs have been established in areas where they previously didn't exist. Parents in Hawkins County report being more vigilant about supervising their children outdoors. Robin Lane, who leads a support group for the families of missing persons, has observed how Summer's case has affected the broader community. There's a collective trauma that happens when a child disappears without explanation. People think, if it could happen to them, it could happen to us. It changes how people view their safety, their community. For the Wells family, the theories matter less than finding their daughter. Despite the scrutiny, harassment, and personal challenges they've faced, they maintain hope that Summer will be found alive. "We just want our daughter back," Candace stated in a rare interview marking the 4-year anniversary of Summer's disappearance. "We don't care about anything else. We just want to know what happened to our little girl." Don Wells expressed similar sentiments. Someone knows something. Maybe they're afraid to come forward, maybe they think it's not important, but any information could be the piece that solves this puzzle. As the investigation continues into its 5th year, the question remains, what happened to Summer Wells? The theories offer possibilities, but only evidence will provide answers that a family, a community, and investigators continue to seek with unwavering determination. In the quiet hills of East Tennessee, a pink butterfly bench sits in the yard of the Wells family home. Installed during a community workday shortly after Summer's disappearance, it serves as both memorial and hope, a place where a little girl with blonde hair and blue eyes should be sitting, laughing, growing up. Summer Moon Utah Wells would be in 4th grade now, perhaps developing new interests, making friends, and experiencing the simple joys of childhood. Instead, her growth exists only in age progression photos, her future suspended in uncertainty that has stretched across 4 long years. The impact of her disappearance extends far beyond her family. It has transformed a community, changing how parents supervise their children, how neighbors watch out for each other, how residents view the familiar landscape around them. The dense forests and steep hills that once represented the natural beauty of Appalachia now hold darker possibilities for many in Beech Creek. For law enforcement, Summer's case represents both a professional challenge and a personal mission. Many of the officers, agents, and searchers involved have children of their own. They carry Summer's photo in their minds as they continue to pursue leads, conduct interviews, and search for answers. "This isn't just another case file," says TBI agent James Lawson. "This is a little girl who deserves to come home one way or another, and a family that deserves answers." The warehouse discovery has provided new hope and new directions for the investigation. As forensic analysis continues and investigators pursue the identity of the person whose fingerprints were found there, the possibility of resolution seems closer than it has in years. Yet the fundamental questions remain unanswered. What happened on that summer afternoon in 2021? Where is Summer Wells? Will her family ever know the truth? This case remains unsolved. If you have any information about Summer Wells, contact the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation at 1-800-TBI-FIND. Even the smallest detail could be the key that unlocks this mystery. And if you want more in-depth true crime stories like this one, subscribe to Criminal Instinct now. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Together, we can keep these cases in the public eye and perhaps someday help bring answers to families waiting in the dark.